Good afternoon. I'd like to extend a really warm welcome to all of the students and parents who are watching. My name's Miss Port and I am part of the English leadership team at Nobel. And I want to start by talking a bit about why English is so important at our school. Well, English is important, I think, firstly, because it gives us access to the human condition. It makes us engage with the human condition, and it makes us empathise with the stories and lives of people who have been in the past, and it also makes us consider the future as well. It makes us engage with the human condition and what makes us human. And I think that's a really, really important subject worthy of study, and ultimately that is what English is about. But English is also a foundational subject in that having good literacy skills, being able to read well and write well, helps us engage with everything that we will have to do, both in school and out of school. So English is really important on those 2 points, that it helps us understand the human condition and it also helps us access everything that we will have to do at school and beyond. Why and what are you going to be studying at English if you decide to join us? Well, at Nobel, we really believe in challenging you, but also supporting you in that challenge. So we start with a really exciting unit, Greek mythology. We start with Greek mythology because Greek mythology is the cornerstone of literature. Lots of texts that that you will study, not just in Key Stage 3, but beyond, are inspired and draw on Greek myth. And these stories are classic stories. They explore the human condition. They explore how the world began. They trace really heroic deeds of brave heroes like Hercules. They look at the startings of the world, and they're really, really exciting stories to learn. But as you go through English, you'll also understand how these stories connect with lots of other things that you'll study. So we choose to start with that, and we choose to start with stories that are really fun and engaging, but also challenging, because we want to progress on and move on from year 6 and all the things that you've done there. We then go on to study writers like Shakespeare, because Shakespeare is a brilliant writer, and we want you to study whole plays and whole texts. And we look at writers from a wide range of time periods and voices as well, because we want you to really engage with that idea of the human condition, to think about big ideas like love and death and betrayal and heroism, and to really, really engage in that sense. And we support you to do that at Nobel, but we support you to do that in a challenging context. We want you to really develop at our school, and that's why we choose these really challenging texts to study. My colleague Emma is now going to talk to you about how we assess you and how we use that assessment to progress that challenging journey that you're going to take with us if you decide to join.
Hello Year 6, my name is Miss Sinclair and I'm here just to tell you a little bit more about what you will do in English at Nobel, and I'm going to talk to you specifically about how you are assessed at Nobel in English and how we'll use those assessments to help you to make progress over your time here with us. So when you first arrive in Year 7, one of the first things you'll do is something called an NGRT test, which is a reading test, and it's not nearly as scary as it sounds. And we use it to find out how you are, where you are in terms of your reading, and to find ways to help you to move forward and to improve your skills. So that's the first thing that you'll do, and then after that, throughout the units and linked into all of the exciting texts that you'll study, you'll do a number of other assessments. You'll do some creative writing, you'll do essays, you'll do short knowledge tests throughout the units, just to make sure that we have a really clear idea of where you are and we know exactly how to support you as you move forward through your time at Nobel. Hopefully we'll see you all really soon. Really looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Hiya, I'm Mr Mesher, Head of Maths at Nobel, and this is Miss Laura, our Key Stage 3 Coordinator. She's going to tell you a few bits about our Maths department.
So when you join us at Nobel in Year 7, we'll focus first of all on topics that you've already covered at primary school. This will give us the opportunity to assess you and check your current knowledge and understanding and be able to offer support and extension if need be. Then in the second half of the term, we're really excited to teach you about negative numbers and some algebra. We'll go in depth with those topics, which will give you a really good understanding for future maths at Nobel. We teach using maths mastery, which means we focus on one topic for a long period of time, really get to understand the topic and not just use a method. From that, it means we'll understand how it works and why it works and be able to use those skills in different ways. And we're really pleased at Nobel to be able to offer students to compete in national maths competitions, some of which actually take part at Cambridge University. And we're really pleased and proud that most students that have completed have achieved the maximum award possible.
When the students arrive at Nobel, we teach them in mixed ability. In fact, they stay through mixed ability all the way through to year 9. We find it's a really good way for them to work through the national curriculum at the same pace, and we take the opportunity to extend the students in class where we can and offer support so that the students can all work together but are always working on the same topic at the same time. We do a fair bit of assessment in maths, and what we'll do to start with is we'll do some online assessments so that every few weeks the students can have a chance to show us where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, perhaps give us a chance to see if there's anything we need to go back, we need to look at for a second time, and give us a chance for students to see where perhaps there's areas they need to improve. At the end of every term, we'll do a whole topic test, so all of the topics that they've covered so far that term. And once again, that just gives a great opportunity for us and for Year 7s a chance to look at perhaps where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and where they can focus. During the summer, we could encourage the students to work on numeracy, to make sure their times tables are really, really good, and to do as much as possible as they can outside of school. That's going to be really useful for us. So when they turn up, they're really ready for secondary school. When they arrive, we'll give them some logins to our online packages. They might use My Maths, which is probably something that they're already used to, and if not, it's something where they can have the opportunity to do a little bit of extra work at home and to really push themselves with their own maths. Thanks very much. We look forward to meeting the Year 7s.
Welcome to the Nobel Science Department. I'm Mrs. Pearson, the Head of Science.
And I'm Mrs. Mapley, who looks after Key Stage 3, which is Years 7, 8 and 9.
When we're in open evening, obviously this is a bit different, but we would always get asked the same question.
So the question we've been asked, we reckon we've got nearly 40 open evenings between us. We know we don't look that old, but the question we are always asked is, do you have to study all 3 sciences or can you pick and choose? And the answer is?
Yes. So all through school from 7 to 11, you'll be learning biology, chemistry and physics. And as soon as you come in Year 7, you will get a taste of all 3 of those. So you'll start off in Year 7 with a biology topic of cells, where you'll be using microscopes. So you get to use the microscope so that you can look at plant and animal cells. You'll be looking at things like plant cells, where if you were looking at a cell in here, you'd get something looking like this. In chemistry, after you've done a bit of biology to do with cells, you'll be looking at the particle model and solids, liquids and gases in the particles. And we might show you a practical of elephant's toothpaste later. And then with physics, you learn about forces. But of course, one of the main reasons I bet you're really excited to come to secondary school is to do the practical work. So we do start off right at the beginning of the year looking at the famous Bunsen burner, doing practicals and working scientifically throughout those practicals as well.
Okay, so when you arrive in Year 7, you'll be given a booklet to start working through, and these booklets will set out everything that's in that topic that you need to know. There's lots and lots of activities in them. There's lots and lots of assessment, and people get a bit worried about the assessment. How will you know if I'm learning? How will you know if I'm doing it right? How will you know if I'm making progress? So we use these booklets during lessons, and the teacher will constantly be asking lots and lots of questions, and they might direct those to individual students, or they might ask for hands up to answer the questions. Then there's some work in the books, and we have a green pen system. So to make sure you know whether you've done your work right, the teacher will say, pick up your green pens now, we're going to run through the answers to this, we're going to see how much of this you got right and how much you got wrong. And all the time the teacher's going to be trying to work out, have you got the hang of this? Do you need a bit more practice? How can I help you? The big thing is not to suffer in silence and to make sure that you pop your hand up or that you ask the teacher at a time that's appropriate for some help if you need it. Of course, along the way, there'll be more formal assessments. So at the end of a topic, you might have a written test to do, and then a bit later in the year, you might have some larger tests to do. But don't worry about those now. We will take you through all of that. We'll tell you exactly what you need to learn and how to learn it, and you're in very safe hands.
So as I was speaking about earlier with the elephant's toothpaste, this is one of the reactions that you may come across in year 7 straight away with chemical reactions. We're going to be looking at an exothermic reaction, which means it gives off heat. So it's a very hot reaction. This is hydrogen peroxide. And I'm just going to add a catalyst, potassium iodide, and then step back very quickly. So you can see that you can't see the heat, but it's producing a lot of heat. It's an exothermic reaction.
Hello, I'm Mr. Kay at Nobel School. I'm the head of MFL, which is Modern Foreign Languages. We study French, German and Spanish here. You will study one of those languages in year 7, all the way through until year 9. The reason you study one of those is to make the maximum progress possible, and each has its own benefits, which will really kind of enable you to make excellent progress here as you develop through to GCSE in MFL.
Hello there, I'm Mr. Doyle, and I'm going to be talking you through the way that we approach the learning in the first year of Spanish, French or German. So it's the same across all 3 languages. You will start by learning how to talk about myself, family and friends. And in that first term, you will learn the key verbs that you're going to need to build on the rest of your language journey in your first year. You will also learn how to conjugate or use verbs properly, and that allows you to then develop that in the second term, where you apply that to a range of different verbs that follow the same patterns. So in the first term, you will learn a set of vocabulary. They're in booklets, and we'll test them, and you'll build on that each term. You then, in your second term, will be able to use the same vocab, but apply it to different situations, and eventually you'll see your language developing and growing bit by bit over the course of the year.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Kite. I'm second in MFL here at Nobel School, and we assess the languages in 4 different skills. So that's listening, speaking, reading and writing. And we do this with a mixture of both termly assessments, but also during class 2. So weekly we will have vocab tests, we will have grammar tests, we check with pronunciation, we do speaking activities, and we do listening activities in class as well. So it's an ongoing assessment the whole time, always checking that you're making the correct amount of progress and helping you to improve. We're really, really excited to welcome you to Nobel, and I look forward to seeing you all in September.
Hi, my name's Miss Criddington. I'm the head of history here at Nobel, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our Key Stage 3 history curriculum. We know that primary schools do history in lots and lots of different ways. So students might come to us with a whole range of different skills and knowledge when they start with us in year 7. So we start chronologically at the beginning of year 7 with the Battle of Hastings and the Norman conquest of England in 1066. And history is on the curriculum for all of Key Stage 3. So between year 7 and 9, we then try to cover some of the most important moments in British and world history. And we look at things like the Tudors, slavery, and World War I, as well as lots of other things as well. Our hope is that by the end of year 9, all of our students will have a really developed understanding of how the past has shaped their life today. Alongside that, in our lessons, we also work really hard to develop students' historical skills and also their extended writing. We assess students in history in lots of different ways. We have weekly knowledge tests where we test students' understanding of key vocabulary and key historical concepts to make sure that they're comfortable with them and they're using them correctly. And that's a really good opportunity for us to step in and correct any misconceptions that students might have as they arise. We also frequently ask students to complete pieces of extended writing because written communication is a key skill in history.
We support students in developing their skills there by giving them writing frames and modelling written answers to them. And we try really hard to get students involved in the feedback for their work. So we share perfect answers with the class, ask them to work on correcting and redrafting their own work. And we also give detailed written feedback to students to help them with individual learning goals.
Hello, my name is George Breeze and I'm Head of Geography here at the Nobel School. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Year 7 geography, what they learn, how we assess them, and everything that they're going to do in their first year of geography. So, geography is the study of the Earth and everything in it. And so, the first term the students look at our first big question, which we call, what is the Earth like? This means looking at the physical or natural elements of the Earth. Students will study the Earth's structure, the weather, the natural hazards, and its geological history. Every lesson is a big part of answering our big question of what is the Earth like. And so each lesson has its own separate question. Things like, why is every world map wrong? Why does it rain? How did the Ice Age change the Earth? And are earthquakes more dangerous than volcanoes? Along with these questions, we spend time learning about the UK. We look at its countries, physical and human features, building the students' locational knowledge. We make sure that the students are able to name the capital cities, major mountains and rivers in the UK by Christmas. Not only do they acquire geographical knowledge, but they'll begin to acquire the geographical skills that they will develop through their time at Nobel. These include understanding natural processes, evaluation, looking at data, map skills, and decision making. A lot of students will have actually studied geography at primary school, but not quite realised it. Many times they will have learned about things like fair trade, weather, climate, and different areas of the world. And these are all things that we learn about in geography, but in primary school may have been part of subjects or lessons like topic. This knowledge is really valuable to the students as it allows them to connect what they're learning about now with what they've learned about in the past. However, being a secondary school with a really large catchment area, we do start from the very kind of ground level, if you'll pardon the geographical pun. We make sure that we provide the students with everything that they need to know for that lesson, and we don't assume that they have learned anything in primary school. After learning about what the Earth is like, we then move on to our next question, which is how do humans interact with the Earth? This is a great second question because the first question is all about the natural features and elements of the world. The second question is all about how humans interact. So some of our lesson questions include things like, where do people live in the UK? What problems do towns and cities have? How can we compare local areas? To help us answer that question, we conduct a fieldwork investigation. Fieldwork is where we go beyond the classroom and we collect data like you would for a science experiment or a survey. Once we've collected that data, we can then come to a decision. To help us answer the question, we will look at things like litter, noise, traffic, pollution, all in the local area if possible, and if not, within the school itself. And that will allow us to answer the question, where is the best environment? In the last term, the students investigate our final big question, which is how is the Earth and its people changing? And again, this includes a new question for every lesson, looking at things like why is it getting hotter in the Middle East, both literally and metaphorically? Why is the desert growing? And why do all our pens come from Asia? The students and parents sometimes think of assessment in geography and in school as simply meaning exams and tests. But in geography, we use the word assessment to mean much, much more than that. However we assess the students, we use that knowledge to then teach them afterwards. If we find a gap in their knowledge, we'll go over that and fill that gap with the knowledge that they need. To help us do this, every lesson begins with a do now task, which is 5 short, simple quiz questions. Most of the questions based on last lesson, but some of them on things they will have covered in, say, the last month or the last term. As a teacher, we use that as a kind of baseline to see what do the students know that lesson. And straight away, if a lot of the class are struggling with one of those questions, the teacher will actually stop the lesson and go over that information all over again. We also monitor the students' verbal responses in class. We'll often pick out individual students to give us an answer to see what they really know. And from that, we'll ask other students to evaluate their response or tell us if they agree or disagree. And this creates an excellent discussion in the classroom and trains our students to really think about other people's opinions and views as well as their own. As well as the Do Now quizzes at the start of every lesson, we have quizzes every 2 or 3 weeks to test not only what they know, but their ability to use their knowledge as well. Beyond the classroom, we set homework quizzes online, and that gives the students the chance to practice recalling information that we've learned. And this is proven to be one of, if not the most effective ways to learn new information. Again, the staff with that class will look at the homework scores because we can analyse the data and see which questions did they find more challenging. Is there anything we need to go over next lesson? Every term, the students will sit a kind of end of unit exam or test, and they receive a score which is sent home to you as part of their progress report. As head of geography, I think I have the best job in the world because geography is the study of the world and its people, and therefore everything is geography and geography is everything. There has never been a more important time to study the world as it's changing so rapidly, as we've seen not only in the last year, but in the last 10 years. So it is a fantastic subject, and I really can't wait to meet you and your students when you join Nobel.
Hello, my name is Mrs. Burton-Evans and I teach philosophy, religion and ethics and relationships, sex and health education. Both of those subjects are core subjects that all students legally have to cover. At Nobel School, we pride ourselves in ensuring that all our students receive a broad and balanced curriculum, ensuring that all of them receive their quota of PRE and RSHE. Students will have 1 hour a fortnight of RSHE and an hour a week of the PRE. We believe that these subjects are so important because they help to teach our students to be respectful, to be considerate of other people's beliefs and cultures, to educate them about other people around the world that they will come into contact with, and to get them to think about wider moral and ethical issues that they will face later on in life. At Nobel, all our students take the GCSE in religious studies, and throughout Key Stage 3, we'll be preparing them with the knowledge and understanding of the different subjects they'll need in order to excel at GCSE. So what do our Year 7 students study in PRE in the first term? We start our Year 7s off by studying a unit on an introduction to philosophy. As part of this, we debate big questions, things like, is there a God? Do we have a soul? Does it matter how we behave? Following on from that, we then go to look at subjects, the 3 big Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, drawing on the similarities and differences between those faiths. This will build on the knowledge that students have from primary school, where they will have already studied in some detail the 6 big world religions. Last year, they will probably have focused on Christianity and Buddhism. We do Buddhism later on, which is in Year 8, but year on year we'll build on their Christianity knowledge. They may well have learnt about religious festivals, stories of key religious leaders, and important places for religious people. At Nobel, we keep exploring influential religious figures, finding out why they are important and how they've shaped the world today. So how do we assess our students in PRE? At the start of every lesson, we will do a Do Now quiz or a quick quiz to test their knowledge, to recall the knowledge that they've learnt in previous lessons and gradually as they build up their knowledge over the previous years as well. We mark these together in class and it informs students there and then what they do know and what they need to go away and revise. At the end of every unit and at the end of every year, we will have an assessment which tests their knowledge and will give them an overall percentage. This helps us as teachers to inform our planning, to see where we need to go back over and reteach content, and also to see where individual students may need some extra support. In RSHE, this is quite a different subject. We focus on the relationship, sex and health education. In Year 7, they will have 3 units that they will be studying. Firstly, they'll look at healthy lifestyles. As part of this, we think about what it means to be healthy, both in our body and our mind. Our first lesson, we focus on having a positive attitude to our learning and how we can learn from our mistakes. We then move on to look at how to live a healthy life, how to eat healthily, and how to keep good personal hygiene. We also look at some of the dangers of smoking, vaping, drinking alcohol in excess, and having energy drinks. Following on from this, we then look at relationships and sex education, and this will build on the content that they will have been doing in Year 6 at the end of term. We focus primarily on puberty and periods, friendships and bullying, the concept of falling in love, and then also thinking about how to deal with abusive relationships. In RSHE, they'll complete a baseline assessment as soon as they come in. This will be looking at what knowledge they bring with them from primary school. This will then be checked each lesson to see how much they're learning on a lesson-by-lesson basis. Again, this will be done in short little quizzes. And at the end of the year, they will then take a final knowledge-based assessment which checks how much they've learned from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So, to summarise, PRE and RSHE are both key subjects that really help our students to grow and develop as good citizens in this world. We hope that they will come away from studying these subjects right the way through school with respect for other people, with a knowledge of the world around them, understanding how to keep themselves safe and healthy, and thinking about being good citizens for the future when they leave school. Thank you very much for listening.
Hello, my name is Mr. Lovelock and I'm the Head of Design and Technology at Nobel School. We'd like to tell you a little bit about what's going on as far as our curriculum. We start in Year 7 and you'll work on a carousel model across the year. You will do 2 terms in design technology and 1 in food technology. In design technology, you will work within the computer room and you will work on a computer-aided design package to develop a door plaque of your own design. We will use the laser cutter to cut out the acrylic, and you will then assemble that using a variety of tools and equipment, and then at the end of the term you get to take that home and present it to whoever you've decided to make it for. The other term in design technology is using a range of tools and equipment in the wood and multi-material workshop, and there we develop your hand skills and your knowledge of material properties so that you can put them together and assemble them. We will teach you to make a range of wood joints and to use the tools and equipment safely and correctly, and these skills are transferable as you can take them home and do some DIY or help repair things at home. We assess you at the end of each module by the completed project that you've made in that unit. So your door plaque, for instance. We will look at the quality of how you've made it. We will look at the skills that you've demonstrated as you've been working through the module. And then you'll sit an end of module test, which checks your theoretical knowledge so that you can write your answers down and either sketch or draw and show your knowledge in either words or pictures. We don't set in design technology, so you will work in mixed ability groups, and this will enable you at the end of the 3 years, once you've done years 7, 8 and 9 following this carousel, to fully experience all of the design specialisms and then decide whether you want to choose GCSE as an option at design and technology.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Appleby, Director of Learning for Food Technology. This is a subject for hungry minds. You probably will not have experienced this subject in primary school. Food tech is the science involved in the preparing and cooking of food. You will have 1 term of food technology in each year during Key Stage 3. In the food tech term, we teach knife skills and how to use every part of the cooker. That's the hob, the grill, and the oven. You will make a fresh fruit salad initially to practice your knife skills. You will then make soup, practicing knife skills, the hob, and using a blender. Next is pizza toast, practicing nice skills and how to use the grill safely. Cupcake making follows, using the oven, and then we put the cupcakes in the freezer, and 2 weeks later we take them out, we get the piping bags out, and we decorate them. Lastly, we make a pasta bake, making your own tomato-based sauce and cooking the pasta. So we're multitasking, having 2 rings on the hob at any one time. We cook on every double lesson. In the single lessons, you'll be taught about why safety and hygiene are so important in the kitchen. You will also study the Eat Well Guide and food safety. To help you progress, we will give you lots of feedback in practical lessons. We also set quizzes on Show My Homework. Your Eat Well Guide leaflet is an assess task. And lastly, you will have an end of term test.
Hello, my name is Sharon Sears and I'm Director of Learning for Art and Design. The Art Department is really looking forward to seeing you in September, and we always try to channel your natural creativity, your enthusiasm and excitement for the subject in those first few structured lessons. We realise that for some of you, it may be the first time that you've had any formal teaching in art and design, but we are here to guide and help you. The learning journey for art starts with an introduction to the formal elements. So they are line, tone, shape, form, colour and texture, because they are so important. They underpin everything that we do in art and design. We encourage the Year 7s to be creative, to explore and experiment with a range of different materials. We focus on them developing their skills of observation and analysis and research into artist work. The students will continue to build upon these skills, starting to look at colour theory and practical painting techniques. Assessment is made at the end of the year, and it's all based on practical application of the skills that we have covered during the year. Teachers will use the assessment just to highlight any gaps that they think you have in your learning, and then use that information to plan to guide you for further success in art and design. We look forward to seeing you in September.
Hi, I'm Mr. Hardy. I'm the Head of Performing Arts at the Nobel School. I'm going to tell you a little bit about music, a little bit about dance, and what you're going to experience next year. In the first term for dance, you're going to be learning about ballet, and it's going to be teaching you some dance techniques and getting you to strengthen. And it's a really good foundation, a really good basis for everything that follows. So over the year, you're going to build up lots of skills. You will have done a lot of movement in PE in primary school, so it builds on the strength and the movement you've done there. You may have done some dance in shows, so it will go a little bit more formal and will get you to take control of what you're looking at. Once that moves on, you start to look at styles of dance and study choreography, so creating your own dances in more detail. That's going to be a much nicer way of approaching dance, and it allows you to express yourself, but also within techniques and ways that mean the dance looks really good and moves really well. The assessments will be a mix of practical assessments and written assessment. So your practical assessments will be a lot of formative assessments where the teacher's talking to you, showing you how to move, helping you to get better. And at the same time, you'll then have written tests testing the knowledge you've learned. And with any assessment we do, what that does is it gives us a picture of how much you've learned, where your strengths are, and importantly, any kind of common misconceptions or anything that the whole class are getting wrong. That will allow us to kind of move forward and say, well, what comes next? What's the important thing for this student or this class? For music, it's going to be a little different. So for music, we start off by doing lots of singing. We're going to listen to and sing loads of different folk songs. We start with looking at folk music from the British Isles, so folk music about the world around us. And with that, you'll have done singing in primary school, you've done performance, so we're building on those performance skills. But then we're also going to break down those folk songs and say, what are the basics? What are the things that make this sound good? And can we then create our own music? As we move into the second term and third term, we move on to pianos and say, well, which of these basics still exist? What is specific to the piano? How can we then show what we've learned in a new way and create music and perform music again? And then we'll end the year looking at the orchestra and saying, well, when you've got this many musicians and all these sounds, why is that brilliant? Why is that a great thing to use? And just keep moving forward with it. The assessment in music is similar. As you play and sing and perform through the year, you'll have conversations with me where we take things forward. We listen to back to what you've done and try and improve things. And then there's also a whole body of knowledge that we assess you with a written test. That gives me a snapshot of what's been learned well, what we need to do to focus on individuals, but also anything that everyone is getting wrong. Common misconception again, and we can take that forward. So that gives us an outline of the 2 courses. For the last thing, what I'd like to say is, I'm really looking forward to meeting you all. Can't wait for you to get to Nobel and start performing and singing and dancing for us, and I will see you next year.
Hello and welcome to the drama department. Here at the Nobel School, we can't wait for you to come and enjoy the wonderful facilities we have here for drama. We have 2 large drama studios, one fully equipped with lights and sound for a really exciting experience of performing. Alongside this, we have a 260-seater auditorium where we will stage our big productions and showcases, which we hope many of you will want to take part in, therefore building on your own experience of drama in your primary schools. In Year 7, we will start by exploring the very beginning of theatre and explore Greek theatre, the origin of drama. Using a wealth of Greek myths and legends, we will endeavour to introduce new theatrical skills such as choral movement, speech, thought-trucking and cross-cutting, to mention just a few. This will also lead to strong teamworking skills and confidence in performance. From our introductory Greek theatre work, we will build on the newfound confidence and skills in drama and explore how theatre has evolved throughout the world and enjoy drama from other cultures, embracing the diverse creative approaches that other countries take to drama, and therefore helping us to get a deeper understanding and appreciation of the world around us. After this, we'll go on to explore a pre-written play text, analysing the way a written play is transposed from the page to the stage, and again, recapping and improving on skills and techniques from previous lessons, thus further embedding knowledge and understanding. In drama, we believe that assessment is very important and helps every student to progress and improve. Alongside this, with the theoretical knowledge retrieval embedded into every lesson, each unit of work has a written test and a practical assessment to help show that if there are any gaps in learning that can be acknowledged and filled in future lessons. Each student is encouraged to work to their best ability and their potential, and lessons are adapted and modified using assessment to ensure that that knowledge and understanding is embedded for lifelong learning. We are very much looking forward to all of you joining us here at Nobel and welcoming you to the drama department.
Hello, my name is Mrs. Camp and I'm Head of PE here at the Nobel School. Firstly, I want to share with you our department vision, which is to encourage maximum participation through an inclusive curriculum inspiring students to fulfil a lifelong, healthy, active lifestyle. Therefore, our curriculum at Key Stage 3 allows students to explore a wide range of both team and individual sports. Sports that you would have been taught at primary school, such as football, gymnastics, athletics. However, we want to introduce you to a wider variety of sports, such as handball, lacrosse, and so much more. We appreciate that primary schools deliver PE in different ways. Some of you would have had specialist PE teachers, and others would have been taught by your class teacher. Here at Nobel, you will be taught by a specialist PE department. In Year 7, we will focus on many of the sports that you are familiar with. We will aim to cover at least 10 to 12 sports with you over the course of Year 7. You will have 3 PE lessons over 2 weeks, so you will have plenty of time to explore the sports in detail. We also offer an extensive extracurriculum programme at Nobel. Every lunchtime and after school we offer clubs, and the best part of it all is that they are free. You do not need to pay to attend any of the clubs, and you can attend as many clubs as you wish. We enter many competitions in the area, so if you wish to represent your school in a sport, then come along to a club and express your interest to the department. Also, you can come along and join a club just to take part. Remember, we are an inclusive department. I'm really looking forward to meeting you all when you start at the Nobel School.
Hello, my name's Mr. Bell and I'm the head of IT at Nobel. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what to expect in year 7. So during your first year at Nobel, you'll learn about how computers work, about how the internet really works. You might use it every day, but perhaps you don't know how it's all put together. You'll learn how to make your own web pages and how to create your own code to create a virtual world in a game. It'll be good if you've used some of the tools that I mentioned, but don't worry if you haven't. We'll give you all the information that you need so that you can get started at Nobel. So the year starts with some more information about e-safety. Now, I'm sure that's refreshing things you've already learned in primary. Things like making a strong password, how to stay safe with online, whether it's online on a game with other people or on some kind of social media. Then we'll start to use the collaborative learning tools that we use at Nobel so that you're going to be confident about sending in homework, asking questions about homework if you get stuck and want to ask a teacher. So once we've done that, we'll explore some of the heroes of computing, some of the people who've changed the way the world works. And while we're doing that, we'll learn at the same time to create effective reports in Microsoft Word, effective presentations using PowerPoint. So I expect that you've already used some tools at primary, perhaps to do online homeworks and things, but we'll give you a bit more information so that you can use them in a way that's more grown-up perhaps, just so that you feel confident sending a grown-up email to a teacher if you're a little stuck with your homework. So later in the year, when we use things like Kodu to make computer games, you might have done that in primary already, but we'll explore a little bit about programming, how you can not just use other people's programs, but how you can make them for your own. As we go along, every half term we'll do a test. So we'll see how you've understood the module that we've just finished. As we go on through the year, we'll add little bits into the tests from the modules that you studied earlier. So that'll mean that as you're going along, you'll start to get a feeling for how your knowledge in all of the subject IT is building. If you have any challenges from the tests, then we'll work on those. We'll do tests during lesson time as well, so you'll always have an understanding of how you're going along in the subject and what you need maybe to work on to improve, or whether you need to stretch yourself and do some of the extra activities that we give you. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a flavour as to how IT is going to be in year 7. So look forward to seeing you in September. Thank you.